important questions. So myself Ram Ganure, faculty in biology, Empower PU Science College, DHARWAD, which is located in the center of the DHARWAD city. So we have got a separate facilities for the girls and boys, hostel facilities and an equipped infrastructures. So to make the upcoming 10th standard examinations very easier, we have come with the series of questions. That is, we will be discussing in our coming classes and today's sessions, that is the 3 marks important questions for the board as well as the 5 marks important questions for the board. So without wasting much of our time, let us start with the questions. Okay, we shall discuss the important questions one by one. So this is all about our college. So first the question is, write the difference between the homologous and the analogous organs. First, let us, before attending any question, my dear students, please go through the questions thoroughly. That is, how many questions have been asked, whether there are any sub questions. Okay, so write the difference between homologous and analogous organs is one question. So this question is again followed by, what are the types of chromosomes present in a man and woman? This is the second sub question. How to decide the gender of the child? So altogether there are 3 questions in the first question itself. So what are the difference between homologous organs and analogous organs? So when we discuss about the homologous organs, so organs of different organisms have common origin. Organs of different organisms have common origin, that is, they have similar structure and perform different functions. So when we speak about homologous organs, the structure and the organization of the bones is the same, but the functions are different. So when we compare a forelimb of a human being and a forelimb of a cheetah, the arrangement is the same. So we have given the forelimbs of a frog and forelimb of a bird. So we can also quote forelimb of a bat, forelimb of a cheetah and forelimb of a man. Bats use their forelimb for flying, right? We don't use our forelimbs, that is our hands, for flying. We use our hands for different activities. So that is why the example quoted for your homologous organs is forelimb of a frog. The frog doesn't use its forelimb for flying, right? It uses for jumping. So forelimb of a bird uses its forelimb for flying. Got it? So this is all about homologous organs, that is the origin and structure is the same but performance is different. We are going to perform different functions. So followed by analogous organs. So what does analogous organ mean? Organs of different organisms have different origin. That is, I'll just give an example. The insects fly, right? The insects flies, the bird flies. Yes, the example is quoted here with different animals. But the insect wing is made up of chitin. That is, when you compare the wing of a bird and when you compare a wing of a insect, the bird's feathers, the bird wing is made up of feathers, whereas the wing of the insect is made up of a chitin material, which is a polysaccharide, right? So, but both, as they are structurally different and origin is different, both the structure and origin is different, but what they do is the function is same. The insect is using its wing to fly, at same time the bird is also using its wings to fly, but origin and structure is different. The wings of the birds is made up of feathers, okay, whereas in insect it is made up of a chitin material. So the example quoted for you can write this example also, but the example quoted for you here is wing of a bird and wing of a bat. So organs of different organisms have different origin. Please, my dear students, mark this word as different origin but similar function. What does analogous organ say? Analogous organ says that there is different origin but similar function. Got it? So example quoted is wings of a bird and wing of a bat. So with this we complete our first sub question. Next, moving on to the second question. In the same question, what are the types of chromosomes present in the man and woman? As we all know that the female egg, okay, so let me take here page. So as we all know that females produce the egg. Females produce the egg which have got chromosome X. Okay, so we usually represent the females as X and X because their egg or the secondary oocyte carries X chromosomes, right? So 2 X chromosomes. So 2 X chromosomes will result into the female child, whereas X and Y chromosomes will raise the male child. So what is the question asked? How is the gender of the child decided? So when there is gamete formation, the female who is XX gives 1 X chromosome. Meanwhile, if the male is heterozygous, that is one is X and the other one is Y, if the male gives X chromosomes, then the resulting baby will be always a female child. Got it? The male is giving X, the female always she'll give X because she is in homozygous condition. If the male gives his X chromosome, then the resulting child will be female child. If the male gives the Y chromosomes, so as again the female gives 1 X chromosome, the male gives Y chromosomes, then the baby will be male. So this is how we are going to discuss the gender of the baby. If the male gives X chromosomes, the female gives X chromosome, then the resulting baby will be, that is the gender of the baby is female. If the male gives Y chromosome and the female gives X, the condition will be XY, heterozygous condition XY, then the resulting gender will be always the male. Okay, so here it is. Women has a perfect pair of sex chromosomes. Perfect pair of sex chromosomes means that both the chromosomes are X and X, both called X, whereas man has a normal size chromosomes X and another one Y. As I told, the female will be having 2 X chromosomes, the male will be having 1 X chromosomes, the other one is Y chromosomes. So next, one more question asked is how to decide the gender of the child. So as we had discussed earlier, a child who inherits means getting from the parents. A child who inherits X chromosome from the father will be girl, and a child who inherits Y chromosomes from the father will be a boy. Both the girl and boy inherit X chromosomes from the mother. Therefore, sex of a child is determined by the father. So please keep in mind, my dear students, the sex, or that is the gender of the baby, is usually decided by the father because he has got 1 X chromosome as well as Y chromosomes, whereas the mother has got 2 X chromosomes. Is it clear? So moving on to the next question. So next question is, a food chain is a a food chain in a polluted aquatic ecosystem is given. So the chain is given, the food chain is given. So what is a chain now? Food chain is the interlinking of the organisms where we human beings are dependent on animals and grass. We are dependent on vegetables for our food, right? Whereas animals, they are dependent on the grass. We are dependent on the animals. So it is a chain where one organism is dependent on the another organism for their food. So in an ecosystem. So a simple food chain is being given here. A food chain in a polluted aquatic ecosystem is given. Okay, that is the fresh water. Okay, feeds the algae. Algae in return is eaten by the fishes. Fishes in turn are eaten by the birds. Now, this is the first question. Which organisms are distributed more due to the biomagnification and why? Next is, this ecosystem will be destroyed gradually due to biomagnification. Why? So before understanding the food chain, let me first explain you what is meant by biomagnifications. So due to the increasing population, most of our farmers to increase the yield of the agriculture, what they're doing, they are using many chemical pesticides, chemical fertilizers in order to increase the growth of the plants, to keep away the pests, insects. So slowly what is happening is this chemicals is being accumulated in the food chain. That is, either it might be accumulated in the water bodies or either it might be accumulated in the soils, okay, or in any of the ecosystems. So slowly, day by day, these chemicals are being accumulated in the soil and water. Since we are growing the plants in that soil, a part of chemicals is being taken up by the plants and stored in the tissues, okay. So later these plants with a toxic substance are being fed by the animals, right? So if the toxic substance is eliminated in the grass, so this grass is eaten by the sheep. So there is a transfer of the chemicals, okay, there is transfer of the chemicals from the soil to the grass, then from the grass to the sheep. So we human beings are sometimes dependent on the sheep, that is non-vegetarians. So when we consume these non-vegetarians, so there is transfer of the chemicals from the sheep to our body. So my dear students, this is biomagnification, that is the accumulation of the toxic substance. Sorry, it is accumulation of the toxic substance. So biomagnification is a process of accumulation of the non-degradable chemicals. The word non-degradable chemical means it will not degrade, that it is not being converted into the simplest form. So these non-degradable chemicals are always danger to the environment and all the ecosystems. So at the various tropical levels of the food chain. So next, as these are non-degradable, non-degradable means they are there forever in the earth and they take millions of years to disappear. So as the chemicals are non-degradable or cannot be washed, they cannot be removed from the organism of the food chain. This leads to the gradual destroying of the ecosystem. So you cannot take off the accumulated chemicals from the food chain because it keeps on transferring. What is a food chain? Chain means it is transferring. So the accumulated chemicals cannot be easily taken off. Okay. So coming back to the first question. So I hope, my dear students, you have understood about the biomagnification. So birds are distributed more due to the biomagnifications. So as birds occupy the topmost level in the given food chain. So this is a topmost level. This is the basic level. So the fresh water feeds the algae. So the algae is eaten up by the fishes, and fishes are being again eaten up by the birds. So as the birds occupy the topmost level in the given food chain, the maximum concentration of harmful chemicals causing biomagnifications get accumulated in the body. That is, highest accumulation of the toxic substance is seen in birds. Right? So moving on to the next question. Okay. Next, a student places a piece of cucumber, a glass piece. Okay, please keep this in mind. A piece of cucumber, a glass piece and a banana peel and a plastic pen in a pit and closes it. This is a question. What changes can be observed in these materials after a month? Give scientific reason for the changes. So now what a student does is, a student takes 4 different materials. Okay, so one he has taken a piece of cucumber, your vegetable, a glass piece, a banana peel and a plastic pen. So these 4 he takes and keeps in a container and closes it and does not see for a month. Okay, what happens to this banana peel? What happens to this piece of cucumber? What happens to the piece of glass? And what happens to the plastic pen is a question asked for you. So you need to explain with the reasons. So now listen here. Cucumber piece, okay, and banana peel are organic substance. Organic substance. So organic substance means they can easily undergo biodegradation. Okay, biodegradation. They can easily undergo biodegradation. So they are biodegradable substance and are eco-friendly. Eco-friendly in the sense they get mixed into the soil. As they get into the simpler form, they mix into the soil and are eco-friendly, and they are not going to disturb our environment. On the other hand, glass piece and plastic pen. On the other hand, the glass piece and the plastic pen are inorganic or synthetic. Okay, inorganic or synthetic. They are non-biodegradable. They are non-biodegradable. So they remain in the soil for very long period of time and brings the soil pollution. So cucumber, banana being an organic substance easily undergo biodegradation and are eco-friendly is your first point. The other point is the glass piece and the plastic pen are inorganic and synthetic substance. That is, they do not undergo any kind of biodegradation. They are there in the soil for very long period of time, bringing soil pollution. I hope this is clear. So moving on to the next question. Name some involuntary activities that takes place in our body. Which part of our nervous system controls and coordinates these activities? Okay, what does involuntary mean? Before answering any kind of questions, first you would like to see what is involuntary. What is involuntary? What is voluntary and what is involuntary? So my dear students, voluntary actions and involuntary actions. Some of the involuntary actions of our body include salivation, heartbeat, involuntary means which are not under our controls. So whenever you see a pickle or any kind of your favorite dish, you start salivating. That is, your mouth automatically starts producing the saliva. Can you control your saliva? Can you control the production of the saliva? No, it is an involuntary action. Have you ever tried to control your heartbeat? No, because it is involuntary. Things that are not under your control comes under involuntary. So again, so those things which you can control, walking, you can control the walk. Running, you can control yourself. So not having food for a long time, you can control. So those are all voluntary actions which are under your control. So some of the involuntary, so what is the question asked? Name some involuntary activities that takes place in our body. Which part of our nervous system controls and coordinates these activities? So some of the involuntary activities of our body include, I told, it is salivation, that is production of the saliva, heartbeat, respiration. Yes, you cannot control your respiration. For time being you can control, but you cannot control for a long time. Blood circulation, have you ever tried to control your blood circulation? No, it is involuntary. The blood keeps on flowing. Digestion of the food, soon as you take the food, can you hold your stomach and stop the digestion? No. So digestion of the food, secretion of various glands, sweating, etc. So these activities are not under the control of our will. So we cannot control these things. So we are going to keep them under the involuntary activities, not under our control. Let us write not under our control. Right? So involuntary means those actions which are not under our control. So the involuntary activities of our body are controlled and coordinated by the autonomic nervous system. So my dear students, it is ANS and the medulla of the hindbrain that controls the involuntary actions. So please keep this in mind. Involuntary actions is being controlled by the autonomic nervous system and the medulla of the hindbrain. So moving on to the next question. What is monohybrid cross? What is its ratio? Explain with the help of checkerboard. So as you people know that Gregor Mendel is known as the father of genetics. So he was a person who introduced about the genetics, that how the genes are being inherited from our parents to offsprings. So this person basically was a monk. He conducted series of experiment to tell the people that how the characters are being inherited from the parents to offsprings. So for this experiment he chose a pea plant, okay, which is a garden plant, garden pea plant, which we are going to call it as Pisum sativum. So what he did is monohybrid cross. I repeat, monohybrid. The word itself says mono means it is single. Mono is single. Okay. So Mendel, in which only one pair of contrasting character is taken. See the monohybrid, one pair of contrasting character is taken. So monohybrid ratio is 3:1, and in that pure is tall is capital T, pure dwarf is small t. So crossing in F1 generation. So what he did, he took the parents. So for his study, he took height as a character. He took height. For monohybrid cross, Mendel took height as a character. So in that, he crossed tall into dwarf. So the tall is represented by capital T, and the dwarf is represented by small t. So during these are the gametes. Okay, these are the gametes. So when he crossed a tall plant with the dwarf plant, my dear students, he crossed tall plant with the dwarf plant. So the gametes were capital T, small t. This condition we are going to call it as homozygous. So among that, next, so when there is a cross, the F1 generation is, capital T, small t. That is all the F1 generation are tall plants. But are they homozygous? No, they are heterozygous. So now, next, what they did is, they did the crossing. So when they did the crossing, so crosses in F2 generation. So what they did? They took this F1 generation, capital T, small t, and crossed with the same plant. So this we are going to call it as selfing. That is, F1 generation was again crossed with the F1 generation itself. So capital T small t was crossed with the capital T small t. So now what happened is, let us put the Punnett square. This is called as Punnett square. So the gametes, they get differentiated, capital T, small t, capital T, small t. So let us write the gametes. So T, capital T, capital T, capital T, small t, capital T, small t and small t. So now see here, what is a phenotypic ratio and what is a genotypic ratio? Phenotypic ratio means whenever you see an plant, are they tall or are they dwarf? So capital T, capital T, capital T. So the dominant gene is capital T, which is height. So the three plants are tall. Because why it is tall? Because there is presence of the dominant gene here. Got it? So dominant gene T. So since there is a presence of this dominant gene T, all the plants are tall. Okay? So tall, and one is dwarf. Okay? That is small t and small t. Genotypic ratio means it is the genetic makeup. How is the genetic makeup? So now let us write. So I'll write it here. So now I have told that capital T. So wherever there is capital T, all the plants are tall. So now there is one more small t, which means the plant is dwarf. So according to Mendel, phenotypic ratio is 3:1. Phenotype is 3:1. That is 3 tall plants and 1 dwarf. Yes, 3 tall plants and 1 dwarf plant. Next one is the genotypic ratio. Genotypic ratio means it is the genetic makeup of the plant. So the genotypic ratio, let us write the genotypic ratio here. Genotypic ratio, it is, one is homozygous condition, one, that is capital T and capital T, is to capital T small t, capital T small t, it is 2 times. So 2, small t, it is 1. So I am going to write it 1. So this is the monohybrid cross. Though the phenotypic ratio is 3:1 and the genotypic ratio is 1:2:1. What is 1? It is so what is 1? It is, one is capital T, that is tall. The other one is capital T small t, that is 2, and the other one is small t, small t. So moving on to the next question. So next question is traits. Traits means characters. Traits acquired during the lifetime of an individual are not inherited. Why? That is, whenever we acquire some character during our day-to-day life, we are not going to pass them to the next generation, right? So how do, this is the first question, how do Mendel's experiment show that the traits are inherited independently? Okay, so answering the first question, this happens because an acquired trait involves change in the non-reproductive cells. So as you all know that there are two types of cells. One is reproductive cell, the other one is body cells or the somatic cells. So any changes that occur in the somatic cells is not inherited. Changes should always occur in the reproductive cells. Only those changes that occur in the reproductive cells will be inherited. That is why the acquired characters are being taken from the somatic cells and are not transferred. So moving on to the next question, how do Mendel's experiment show that the traits inherit independently? So during the formation of the gametes, as we saw that the F1 generation is heterozygous. So F1 generation was heterozygous, right? So F1 generation is heterozygous. So during the F2 generation, again these gametes, they independently assort into capital T, small t, capital T, small t. So independent assortment says that one character is not influenced by the other. Both will independently express without disturbing the characters. So the next question is, the flow of energy in any ecosystem is unidirectional. My dear students, unidirectional means it is always in one direction. Bidirectional means it is going to this way and coming this way. But it is unidirectional. Explain the statement. Next, this is one question. Draw a schematic diagram showing flow of energy in an ecosystem. So now listen here. The answer for this question is, the sun is a primary source of energy. Do you all agree? We are also dependent on the sun. The plants, especially the autotrophs. What are autotrophs? The organisms which synthesize their own food using carbon dioxide, sunlight and water. I would like to tell sunlight. Sunlight is the main source of energy for the production of the food. The sun is the primary source of energy for ecosystems. The energy that is being captured by the autotrophs, I repeat the word autotrophs, does not revert back to the solar. Have you ever seen plant giving energy back to the sun? No. When it receives the energy from the sun, it uses for the preparation of its food. Is plant feeding the sun back? No, it is unidirectional. The sun gives us energy, the plant traps the energy, produces the food. Okay, so the energy that passes through herbivores does not come back to autotrophs. So the grass is again eaten by the herbivores. Herbivores means those animals which are dependent on the vegetarian food, that is the grass, shrubs and herbs. Okay, so have you ever seen plants feeding on animals? Have you ever seen? No. Plants are food for animals. Okay, animals are not food for plants. So there is a flow of the energy in a unidirection. Sun to the plants, plants to the animals. As it moves progressively through various tropical level, it is no longer available to the previous level. Therefore, flow of energy in ecosystem is unidirectional. That is, always the energy flows in unidirectional. Here in this context, we have discussed about the sun. The sun gives us energy for the autotrophs, for the preparation of the food. In turn, the autotrophs are being fed by the herbivorous plants. The herbivorous plants further are being eaten by the animals. But the animals are not giving any energy to the cell. Have you seen the plants giving energy to sun? No, it is unidirectional. Now, coming back to the second question, draw a schematic diagram showing the flow of energy in an ecosystem. So here it is sunlight. Let us start from the basic. Sunlight to the producers, then herbivores. Producers in the sense the sunlight produces the energy. This energy is being utilized by the producers, that is the plants. So we call them as producers. So these producers in turn are taken up by the herbivores, those animals that depend on herbs, shrubs and grass for their food. Next, carnivores, and again these carnivores are again eaten up by the top carnivores. So this is the schematic diagram of showing that flow of energy in an ecosystem. So mainly it is the sun which is the prime source of energy. It is the sun. So all the animals get the energy from the sun. All the animals, all the organisms. Got it? So moving on to the next question. Okay, well, now moving on to the human physiology. Explain human respiratory system with a neat labeled diagram. So you should draw this diagram with a minimum 8 labelings. So this is the diagram. So whenever we inhale, inhalation is nothing but taking in of the air. So sometimes we take the air or breathe with mouth, or sometimes we breathe with the nose. So majority of the times the oxygen is intaken by the nose. Okay, oxygen is intaken from the environment through the nose. Meanwhile, same time we are going to throw out the carbon dioxide from the nose, right? So our respiratory system mainly consists of the nostrils. Your nose, the two holes here are called as nostrils. So this nostrils is followed by the nasal passage. Okay, so this nostrils is followed by the nasal passage here. Can you see? Nasal passage. So this nasal passage opens up into a nasal cavity, then to the pharynx. So pharynx is a region where your food pipe and your windpipe meet. So from there, this is a passaging of the air, right? Air passes, the air, that is your oxygen from environment. From environment, O2 passes through nostrils, then followed by the nasal passage, then to the nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx. Larynx is nothing but your voice box. Voice box. This larynx further transfers to the trachea. Can you see a long tube here? Can you see a long tube? This is the trachea. So this is trachea. So this trachea extends from your neck region, that is your pharynx and larynx. The larynx is the voice box. So whenever you touch your neck, whenever you talk, you can feel the vibration. That is, the air passes from the nostrils, nasal passage, nasal cavity and the pharynx, which is your voice box. From here there is up to here, okay, up to here there is a presence of the trachea. So trachea is nothing but a long tube, okay, long tube that conducts the air to the lungs. So now listen here, this trachea further branches. Can you see here? It is branching. The trachea is branching into the lungs this way. Okay, let me draw the structures here. So these are, so the trachea opens up into the bronchi. Can you see here? Bronchi. This is bronchi. So the bronchi further opens up into the bronchioles. These are the sub branches. So the bronchioles further they open up into alveoli. They further open up into alveoli. So alveoli, so where air exchange takes place. Air exchange occurs in your alveoli. So they are called as air sacs. So what are alveoli called as? Air sacs. The alveoli called as air sac. Why is it called as alveoli is called as air sac? So when I consider one alveoli, the alveoli is rich in oxygen because alveoli is connected to bronchioles, bronchi, trachea, nasal passage, nasal cavity and the environment. The air always passes this way and goes this way and then to the lungs. So the alveoli, which is rich in oxygen, transfers the oxygen to the blood. So this is the blood vessel. Let us give it as BV, that is blood vessel. The oxygen gets transferred to the blood here. In turn, the alveoli receives back CO2, that is carbon dioxide, from the blood capillaries. So this CO2 again goes back. So this is the way of O2. O2 travels in this way. From here CO2 goes out. Where? In environment. So this is just a in brief explanation, but nasal passage, mouth cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, alveolar sac are the must and should labelings that should be given on this human respiratory system. So moving on to next question. So it is the human circulatory system. Human circulatory system. So as we all know that our body has got, since we respire, some part of our body has got the cells, especially the cells, what they do is they take off the oxygen and give out the carbon dioxide. So the blood which is rich in, let me write it here. So the blood which is rich in carbon dioxide is called as deoxygenated blood. What you are going to call the blood which is rich in carbon dioxide is called as deoxygenated blood. The blood rich in O2 is called as oxygenated blood. Oxygenated blood. So now the impure blood or the deoxygenated blood are brought from the upper part of the body. Can you see here? Deoxygenated blood from the body. The upper part of the body, the impure blood from the upper part of the body is bought by the vena cavas. So there are two types of vena cava. One is superior vena cava. The other one is inferior vena cava. So one is superior vena cava, the other one is inferior vena cava. The superior vena cava brings the deoxygenated impure blood from upper part of the body, and the inferior vena cava brings the impure blood, that is the deoxygenated blood, from the lower part of the body. Now the vena cava, after getting the deoxygenated blood, gives it to the right auricle. Okay, the right auricle is in a relaxed state. So the right auricle is in a relaxed state and is receiving the impure blood. Next, these auricles, they open up into the ventricles. So right auricle first relaxes, receives the blood, later it contracts. Okay, whenever you are going to fill water in a balloon, it expands. So whenever you press that balloon, it contracts and the water from that balloon goes out. In the same way, the right auricle, it first relaxes and receives the blood. Later the right auricle contracts. The blood from the auricles now move to the ventricles. Now the ventricle is in a relaxed state. It is ready to receive the blood. Next, when the ventricles receive the blood, ventricles contract. Ventricles contract. So the blood from the right ventricles is pumped to lungs, where purification occurs. Where purification occurs. Purification in the sense the carbon dioxide is taken out and oxygen is been added. Next, from here the lungs, oxygenated blood is ready. This oxygenated blood comes to the left auricle, then to the left auricle contracts, then left ventricle gets relaxed, then left auricle contracts, then through aorta. Through aorta, the pure blood is sent to all the parts of the body. Just have a look on this diagram. So this is how the process of blood circulation occurs in the human heart. So moving on to the next question. Draw a neat labeled diagram of a neuron and explain the function parts. So what is a neuron? So a neuron is a structural and functional unit of the nervous system. So it is the basic unit of the nervous system. So what are the three main parts of a neuron? So it is the dendrite. Okay, it is the dendrite, it is the cell body and axon, and it is synapse. Okay, so here is the structure. So this is the dendrite. It has got the nucleus in the centers. So this is axon. Whenever the signal is reduced, the signal comes to dendrites. This signal passes through this way along the length. Okay, so these are the nerve endings. Okay, the signals are being passed from this nerve ending. Dendrite information is acquired, that is the dendrite take off the information. Cell body and axon, information travels as an electrical impulse. As I said, the electrical impulse travels in this way. Electrical impulse travels in this way. Next, this electrical impulse reach the nerve ending. Okay, this is a nerve ending. Part, that is a synapse, part where the electrical signals are converted into chemical messengers. So from here, can you see this nerve ending? Let me draw this nerve ending here. So if this is the nerve ending, okay, if this is a nerve ending, so this nerve ending produces the signals. So electrical signals have been already produced here. So these electrical signals are further converted into chemical signals in the form of neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters. Is it clear? So, moving on to the next question. Draw a neat labeled diagram of human brain and explain the function of. First, you need to draw a neat labeled diagram. Then, what is the question? Functions of forebrain, functions of midbrain, and functions of the hindbrain. Please have a look on this diagram. Forebrain. Okay, this is the forebrain. Midbrain, and this is the hindbrain. Just look at the parts. So it would be more better and convenient if you draw all the diagrams in one book or make a small assignment kind. So next, what was the second question asked? The second question was asked is to determine the functions. So what are the functions of the human brain? So this is the human brain. The human brain has mainly got three parts: forebrain, midbrain, and the hindbrain. Now, the first is forebrain. It is one of the most complex and specialized parts of the brain, that is the cerebrum. Functions: thinking part of the brain. Cerebrum is considered as a thinking part of the brain from which you can think, control the voluntary actions, store information, that is the memory, central associated with the hunger. Next, receives a sensory impulse from various parts of a body and integrates it. So cerebrum is most complex because it is mainly involved in the memory, one thing. So it tells when you are hunger, then it controls the voluntary actions, means those actions which can be controlled by you is controlled in the cerebrum, and it is also thinking part of the brain. Next is receives a sensory impulse from various parts. Okay, all the impulses are being received by this cerebrum. So next one is midbrain. Midbrain mainly consists of two types of glands. It is hypothalamus gland and the pituitary gland. So these two glands, we are going to call them as an endocrine gland. We are going to call them as an endocrine gland. So hypothalamus gland, it chemically coordinates. Pituitary gland secretes the hormone. So always remember, my dear students, the hypothalamus gland is always interconnected with the pituitary gland. The signals are being generated from the hypothalamus gland in the form of chemicals. Then this hypothalamus gland sends the signal to the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland, after receiving the signal, starts producing the hormones. Okay, it starts producing the hormones. Next is the hindbrain. The hindbrain mainly consists of the cerebellum and medulla oblongata, and one more is pons. So cerebellum, what it does? Controls posture and balance, controls precision of voluntary actions. Next, medulla controls involuntary actions, blood pressure, salivations, vomiting, voluntary actions, regulation of the respiration. So these are all the functions of the brains, that is forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. So the next question is explain two types of flower and draw a neat label diagram of hibiscus. So now listen here, they have asked to explain how many types of flowers are there. So there are two types of flower, one is bisexual flower and the other one is unisexual flower. The name itself says bisexual. Both the male and female reproductive parts, that is the stamen and the carpel, are present in the same plant, same flower. So that we are going to call it as bisexual flower. Bisexual, that is both the male and female parts are present in the same flower. So example quoted is hibiscus and mustard. The other one is unisexual flower. Uni means single. Either the male can be produced or the female can be present. Either male or female reproductive parts are present. Example papaya and watermelon. Got it? So there are two types of flowers, that is bisexual flower and unisexual flowers. Got it? So this is the label diagram where you are going to draw the filaments, petals, okay? So sepals, ovules. So this is the ovary, this is a stigma, okay? This is stigma, sorry, this is stigma, this is style, this is ovary. Within the ovary there is presence of the ovules. Got it? So these are the male parts, that is the stamen. Can you see this? So these are the stamens. These are the stamens, that is, this is male part, this is the female part. So next question is, explain the functions of all the hormones. Thyroxine, growth hormone, adrenaline, testosterone, estrogen and insulin. So the name of the hormone is thyroxine. Thyroxine, the name itself says, this hormone is produced by a gland called as thyroid gland, which is presented here, neck region or the throat region. So what is the function of this thyroid gland? Regulation of metabolism of carbohydrates, fats and proteins. Okay, what it does, it regulates the metabolism of carbohydrates, fats and proteins. Next hormone is growth hormone. This growth hormone is produced by which gland? Pituitary gland, as we had discussed in the previous session, that is the hypothalamus gland is connected with the pituitary gland. Hypothalamus is more connected to the pituitary gland. So this pituitary gland is situated in the midbrain. Regulates its growth and development. Almost the human being's development is being controlled by this pituitary gland. So next one is adrenaline. So the hormone name is adrenaline. Okay, so adrenaline is also known as a emergency gland. Okay, it is situated above the kidney. So whenever we draw a diagram of a kidney, okay, so this is a diagram of a kidney. So on above this kidney there is a conical shaped yellow color gland. Okay, conical shaped yellow color gland, which we are going to call it as adrenal gland. Adrenal gland. So this adrenal gland, it secretes emergency hormone. Emergency hormones, that is whenever you are afraid, whenever you are happy. So whenever you see a snake, you show a sudden response. So whenever someone is dead, you show a sudden response. Okay, whenever you are in anger, you show a sudden response. So whenever you see a cheetah, you start running. So those are all emergency actions. So these emergency actions are mainly looked after by the adrenal gland by producing the emergency hormone. Okay, so that is why regulation, increasing blood pressure, heartbeat, carbohydrate metabolism during the emergency. That is, whenever you see a cheetah, automatically you feel fear, you start sweating, your heartbeat increases, your respiration also increases. So that everything is controlled by your adrenal gland that produces adrenaline. So next one is the sex hormone, that is testosterone and estrogen. So in case of males, okay, in case of the males, that is during the time of the puberty, at the age of 14, the male testis will develop. The male testis will develop and they produce a hormone called as testosterone. Whereas in females, ovaries develop. They produce estrogen. Male produce testosterone, female produce estrogen. So What are the changes? What they do? They are located at the genital lower abdomen area. So what are the functions? When we look at the function, it changes associated with the puberty, that is sexual maturity. The testis and ovary both are involved for the sexual maturity. Next one more is insulin. As you people might be very well known with the insulin, most of the diabetic patients, they are being administered with the insulin. So this insulin is produced by a gland called as pancreas. Okay, this pancreas is just below the stomach. Okay, so we draw it here. So this is your stomach. The pancreas is located here. The pancreas is located just below the abdomen, reduces and regulates the blood sugar level. Reduces and regulates the blood sugar level. So next one is, draw a neat label diagram of human digestive system. So digestion mainly start with the mouth, that is buccal cavity. We are going to chew the food. The chewed food is mixed with the saliva, resulting in the formation of the bolus. The food that is chewed here, okay, that is chewed here comes here to the long tube. Can you see a long tube here? Can you see a long tube? So this long tube is nothing but the esophagus, where the food passes here. From esophagus it reaches to the stomach. Can you see a J-shaped structure here, stomach? Can you see a stomach? So stomach, the stomach is followed by the small intestine. See here, stomach continues inside to form the small intestine. So this is all small intestine. So the main three parts of the small intestine is duodenum, jejunum and ileum. The small intestine further opens up into the large intestine. Can you see this large intestine? The large intestine has got again three parts, that is cecum, colon and rectum, finally opens up into anus. So how it starts? It starts all from the mouth, esophagus, okay, stomach, small intestine, okay, large intestine, then through the anus. Appendix is a vermiform. It is vermiform. So pancreas, it produces juice. Liver, it produces bile juice. Bile duct stores the bile juice. Gallbladder concentrates it. Diaphragm. So this is all about the digestive system of the human beings. So next question is, draw a neat label diagram of human kidney and explain the formation of urine. What is hemodialysis? So in one question itself there have been three questions asked. One thing is, you need to draw a diagram, neat labeled diagram. Then you need to explain the formation of urine. This is your second one. And what is meant by hemodialysis. Okay. So now, excretion, the process of removal of the harmful metabolic waste from our body. So we usually excrete the waste substance which is not required for our body. So every day we are going to excrete the nitrogenous waste from our body, right? So that is excretion. So excretory system of the human beings include a pair of kidney. Can you see this? So it includes a pair of kidney. So this is kidney. Right? So a pair of kidney, then a pair of ureter. Can you see? This is ureter. From the kidney, a pipes arranged, or tubes arranged. This is called as ureter. Can you see here? This is ureter. This is ureter. So the urine that is been secreted in the kidneys goes through ureter, and it is collected in a bag called as urinary bladder. So this is urinary bladder. This is the urethra, where the urethra opens up and the urine has been passed. So what are the four important parts of the human excretory system? It is a pair of kidney, 1, 2, then urinary bladder. This is the urinary bladder, okay, a pair of ureter, 1, 2, then a urethra. Okay, so next question is, explain the formation of urine. Urine produced in the kidney passes through the ureter, as I said, then into the urinary bladder, where it is stored until released through the urethra. So the kidney, what it does, it secretes the urine. The urine secreted transfers to the ureter. Okay, so from ureter, the urine is again stored in the urinary bladder until a person urinates. That is, urinary bladder is a muscular structure that helps in storing up of the urine until a person urinates. So next, the purpose of making urine is to filter out the waste products that is present in the blood. What is the main function of the kidney? It is the filtration of the blood. So we are going to remove the impure substance, that is the nitrogenous waste, from the blood via kidney filtration. So in the kidney, the filtration is carried out by nephrons. Okay, so nephrons are the filtration units that are present in the kidneys. So now, how does this kidney work, or how is this performed? So as I said, each kidney has a large number of filtration units called as nephrons. My dear students, please keep this in mind. It is the nephrons. The filtration unit of the kidney is nephrons. The urine formation always occurs in 3 steps. The first step is glomerular filtration, tubular reabsorption, and secretion. Nitrogenous waste, glucose, water, amino acid filter from the blood through the Bowman's capsule. So you might have seen the So whenever we discuss about this is the Bowman's capsule. This is the Bowman's capsule. So I am drawing the nephron, structure of the nephron, to explain how the process of urine is formed. How the urine is formed. So this is the glomerulus. So this entire thing is nephron. This entire thing is nephron. This is Bowman's capsule. Bowman's capsule. This is glomerulus. This is PCT, that is proximal convoluted tubule. This is DCT, that is distal convoluted tubule. This is Henle's loop. Henle's loop. So now wait. it went. Looks mixed. Yes, here. Bowman's capsule and glomerulus. The process of filtration occurs here. The blood gets filtered in this area. The blood gets filters in this area. So slowly the GF, that is a glomerular filtrate, is passed from the Bowman's capsule to this PCT, where reabsorption occurs. So sometimes there may be chances that large amount of water is being lost. So when the water is being excess here, this region starts to reabsorb the water. Okay. So here it is, glomerular filtration. So you saw the Bowman's capsule, tubular reabsorption. Now the useful substance from the filtrate are reabsorbed by the capillaries. Next, secretion. Extra water, salts and secreted into the tubule, which open up into the collecting duct and then to the ureter. So what our kidney does is, our kidney not even allows excess loss of the water and salts, because salts and water are much more essential for our body. Okay, so on an average a person secretes 180 liters of urine per day, but though he is secreting 180 liters of per day, he is not going to urinate all the 180 liters. Approximately on an average a person urinates 1 liter to 1.5 liters per day. Okay. So next one is, the question asked is hemodialysis. So you might have heard about people undergoing dialysis. So when excess concentration of the nitrogenous waste starts accumulating in our body, we are going to call that condition as uremia. We are going to call that condition as uremia. Uremia is nothing but the accumulation of the nitrogenous waste, that is the urea, in our body. Resulting, why this urea is accumulating? Maybe the kidney is not functioning properly. When kidney is not functioning properly, the patients suffer from this uremia. Then the doctor suggests the patients to undergo further dialysis. So here this dialysis is called as hemodialysis, where the kidneys work. The kidneys work is what? It is the filtration. So this filtration work is done by the artificial kidney, that is the hemodialyzer. The process of purifying blood by artificial kidney. This artificial kidney is not in our body, it's outside. Okay? Is meant for kidney failure patient. Is it clear? So hemodialysis means it is a process of filtration of the blood that is carried out by the artificial kidney, okay, for those who have got this kidney failure. Got it? So the next question is, dihybrid cross. As we had already discussed about the monohybrid cross, now it is dihybrid cross. Di means it is two. So here we are going to take two contrasting characters. So as I explained about the Gregor Mendel, father of genetics, he also performed monohybrid cross and gave the phenotypic ratio, that is 3:1, and genotypic ratio is 1:2:1 in case of monohybrid cross. So now let us see what is the phenotypic ratio and the genotypic ratio in the case of dihybrid cross. Di itself says 2 characters. So now, as we have discussed, Gregor Mendel took pea plant. Okay, so dihybrid cross, a cross made between 2 plants having 2 pairs of contrasting characters is called dihybrid cross. Got it? Next, parents. So what kind of parents or what kind of pea plant did he choose? So he chose round seed. Okay, here it is character of a seed. Okay, round seed, round. So here it is round green seed. Here it is wrinkled yellow seed. So here this is one parent, this is another parent. So now what are the gametes? It is capital R, capital R, capital Y, capital Y. That is, one character shows 2 genes. One is gene and the other is allele. Okay, 2 same Y, YY. So when we cross, the F1 generation is capital R, small r, capital Y, small y. So it is round and yellow because these are dominant. So next is this is the gametes that has been produced from the F1. So now F1 has been crossed. So these are the gametes, that is F1 has been selfed. So here they have given gametes. So these are the gametes for F1. Okay, so these are the gametes for F1. So these gametes are being crossed now. F1 generation and F1 generation is being crossed, that we are going to call it as selfing. So after selfing, now let us see the F2 generation. What will be there? So by putting the Punnett square, we get the clear idea of the segregation of the gametes. So this is capital R, capital Y, capital R, small y, small r, capital Y, small r, capital Y. So these are now tell me, this is round yellow, round yellow, round yellow, round yellow. It is round yellow, round green, round yellow, round green. So it continues. So we can easily put up the genotypic ratio and the phenotypic ratio by looking easily at this Punnett square. So let us see the phenotypic ratio. It is 9:3:3:1. That is, round yellow, how many they are? 9. Round green, how many they are? 3. Wrinkled yellow, 3. Wrinkled green, 1. Pheno means it is the external appearance. So external appearance, there it is, the ratio is 9:3:3:1. So now genotypic ratio, it is how many capital R, capital R, capital Y, capital Y, capital R, capital R, capital Y, and the same way it continues. So these are the genetic makeup. These are the genetic makeup of this above plants. Got it? So the genotypic ratio is 1:2:2:1, 4:2:1:2:1. Okay, so observations: when capital R, capital Y was crossed with small r, small y in F1 generation, all the plants were round and yellow. Okay, when these round and yellow were further crossed, self pollination, what happens? The ratio was, phenotypic ratio was 9:3:3:1, and the genotypic ratio was 1:2:2:1:4:2:1:2:1. So this is all about the dihabit cross. So these are the questions that will be appearing in your 10th standard examinations. So I hope the efforts made by us will be very much useful for you all. So please join and subscribe our channel on the YouTube. So Empower PU Science College, which is located in the heart of the city, that is Sadankeri. So we have got a well equipped infrastructure for the class labs, as well as we have got separate hostel facilities for the boys and girls with well nourished food. So I hope the video was very useful to all students. So this is all about. So we provide a special integrated coaching for CET, NEET and JEE is provided for the students with excellent results everywhere. So as I said, we have got a hostel facilities available with separate hostel for boys and girls with delicious food. Thank you.